Hi, Jane Schnupp here. Welcome to another Savvy Sightseer video vacation and the latest installment of the Parks series, where we delve into some places that many of us take for granted, our local parks. In all, there's at least 70,000 acres of recreational and wooded parkland spread across Long Island, from Queens to Montauk. In this video, we will stop by truly unique spots, starting with the John P. Hume's Japanese Stroll Garden in Mill Neck, then Cedar Creek Park in Seaford, Belmont Lake State Park in West Babylon, Bayard Cutting Arboretum in Great River, and we'll end at the Ecology site and animal preserve in Holtsville. You will find that they each have so much to offer and their own story to tell. If you get inspired to check them out, always call the park first for current operating hours, residence requirements or other restrictions, and whether there is a parking fee at certain times or if they honor passes, senior rates, or exceptions. And of course, remember to pack a water bottle and tick spray. No need to grab your sneakers and walking stick now, though. Just sit back and enjoy your tour through some of Long Island's great getaway spots. A surprising find is on Nassau County's North Shore, and find is the right word because it can be easily missed with only a small sign on the main road and a nearly obscured entrance. Parking is free in the tiny lot at the John P. Hume's Japanese Stroll Garden, but the North Shore Land Alliance, which operates this site, requests a small donation at the main entrance. In return, you get a map with an explanation of the now 7-acre park's trees and special features. In 1960, local lawyer John P. Humes and his wife Jean visited Kyoto, Japan. They were struck by the atmosphere of a true Japanese garden. Inspired, they spent the next 4 years transforming a wooded corner of their 28-acre Mill Neck estate into a meditative Japanese landscape, including an imported tea house. He hired a Japanese landscape designer to oversee the creation, starting on about 2-acre section of his property. Japanese gardens are meticulously designed and carefully crafted down to every single aspect. They are considered one of the most important depictions of Japanese art. Generally, they rely on a simple, minimalist, natural setting that is designed to inspire reflection and meditation. Different elements encourage various reactions and revelations. At the Humes Garden, the association claims the overall intent is to immerse visitors in an idealized landscape inspired by a mountain setting by the sea. Strollers can start their journey following a path characterized by stepping stones, which are used to control the rate at which one moves through a garden. So from the very start, a visitor must take stock of the surroundings and not just rush on through. At the end of the entrance walk is a short bridge, which, like almost every aspect of a Japanese garden, is highly symbolic. It could bring to mind traveling and moving from one state or world to another, going from the realm of humans to the estate of nature. To gain the utmost out of this journey on a somewhat spiritual level, visitors turn left and follow the path clockwise. There they enter a lush, native woodland environment. The stroll here is designed to suggest a mountain path, and after various twists and turns, a visitor arrives at a sort of mountain peak before weaving downward to a more stylized area. As the trail transitions from the woodland, there are several different types of stone lanterns. They stand in striking contrast with nature. They can also provide soft lighting on the way to an evening tea ceremony. Boulders along the path bring to mind strength and power, as well as add to the sense of a mountain environment. As the walk progresses, uneven steps with various types of stone and gravel force visitors to walk slowly, with care, to contemplate their path and carefully observe their surroundings. By concentrating closely on the walkway, the anticipated goal is to transition the focus from oneself to becoming more engaged in the surroundings. According to some experts, the whole aim is to leave behind the rushed world outside and to enter a different domain. Stone benches provide quiet places for meditation or contemplation within the peaceful setting. The path continues on downward to the next key component in Japanese gardens, the pond. Water is a fundamental factor in human existence and another significant feature of Japanese gardens. It's one that is especially essential when it's part of an idealized landscape intended to suggest a mountain setting by the sea. Next to this pond, gravel paths suggest mountain streams and lead to a wisteria pagoda, an ideal spot on which to consider the stillness and empty space of the tranquil water setting, in both a literal and symbolic sense. Nearby is a stone water basin where guests can rinse their mouths and wash their hands, a metaphor for purifying the body and mind before being ready for the next stage in the journey. The entire garden path, from the entrance around to this spot, has been crafted to culminate with the tea room. Along the way from the dense and profuse woodland to the simple and formal clearing where the tea room dominates, guests have been preparing themselves, physically, emotionally, and mentally for this. They have been purifying themselves through various steps in order to achieve the right mindset for the coming ceremony. By the time they enter the tea house, visitors feel they have been on a great journey that has taken them far from their hectic city lives. They are ready to embrace the tranquil process of a tea ceremony ritual and can reflect comfortably on the beauty of nature and the art of living in harmony. A sense one hopes can stay with them at least a little while, even after heading back to the 21st century hustle and bustle. What do you do if everyone in your group wants to do something different? One wants to lounge on a grassy hill, another wants sports, one wants to go to a roller rink, yet others want to shoot some archery, or maybe even hit an aerodrome with their model airplanes. Perhaps Fido needs a bit of activity. Well, the good news is there's one park that actually has all those bases covered. The 259-acre Cedar Creek Park in Seaford on Nassau's South Shore is a one-stop spot for all these interests. It has just about everything. 8 tennis courts, 12 handball or paddleball courts, 3 basketball courts, athletic fields, paths for walking, jogging, and bicycling, picnic areas, a roller rink, a dog run, and even a regulation-sized archery range. The park also has an aerodrome field for radio-controlled model airplane hobbyists. Although most of the park is unrestricted, check with park officials for any requirements for so-called special use areas. Part of the Nassau County Park system since 1975, the region's history goes back further, much further. According to local historian Fred Roth, the place was a hotbed of activity during Prohibition of the 1920s, when area baymen became bootleggers, picking up cases of alcohol in international waters a few miles off of Seaford's coast. They delivered the hooch via Cedar Creek to speakeasies across from what is now the park's entrance on Merrick Road. The recreation area features a large 2-section dog run with chairs under shade trees for pet owners to relax in comfort while the pups run free. There's even a water fountain set at dog height. Virtually all sports are given some space in the park. Well-kept fields with a huge scoreboard and bleacher risers, a roller skating or skateboarding rink, and tennis courts. There's also plenty of places for a break to fuel all that energy use. An unreserved picnic area with freestanding grills is available on a first-come, first-served basis. There's also 3 reserved picnic areas that can accommodate 100 people. However, these are an example of a special use area that comes with a fee and requires a Nassau County leisure pass. Similar restrictions apply for the regulation-sized archery range that is open to the public. However, archers must bring their own equipment. And over at the aerodrome field, an Academy of Aeronautics card is required by hobbyists to launch the radio-controlled model airplanes. There's lots of covered areas to beat the heat on a sunny day. Locals have only high praise for Cedar Creek's playgrounds. They were named Best Playgrounds of Long Island by the Long Island Press, a weekly newspaper. And News 12's viewers also crowned them as the best on Long Island. In 1985, a bike path opened for cyclists, joggers, skaters, and strollers. The easy two-way paved strip winds from the park along the southern end of Montauk State Parkway to Jones Beach State Park's East Bathhouse. Along the way, there's bridges, views of natural scenery, marshes, and, of course, water scenes. The initial bike route was named for avid cyclist Ellen Ferrant, who had been a key proponent in establishing the 5-mile trek. Her memorial stone sort of says it all for every park goer, not just those using the bike path. May all who enter here be endowed with her enthusiasm and love of the outdoors. Dedicated bikers can now continue on along linked extensions, trails, and paths that have been added over the years, all the way to Captree State Park, about 20 miles away. When people hear the name Belmont Park, they generally think of Belmont Racetrack on the Nassau-Queens border, one leg of the famed Triple Crown horse race. But where the thoroughbreds called home was much farther east, on the Suffolk County estate of August Belmont, founder and namesake of the Belmont Stakes. In West Babylon, the financier's 1,100-acre farmland was their main grazing and practice space. One star put through his paces here was the famed Man o' War, voted Best American Racehorse of the 20th century, and the unofficial 1920 American Horse of the Year. Riders of less notable mounts can still be seen frequenting a 2-mile bridle path on the former estate. In 1926, New York State purchased 158 acres of the property and converted its 24-room mansion to a headquarters for the Long Island State Park Commission. Later, more land was acquired by the state, and the total, now roughly 460 acres, is called Belmont Lake State Park. There's an amazing amount of land given over for picnickers. This section with a pavilion can be rented, but there are plenty of tables and barbecue grills open to others. The broad, flat main hiking trail is just short of a 1.5-mile loop from the parking lot. It's perfect for baby carriage strolls, jogging, and social distance meandering. On the route, there are several fitness stations for anyone who wants to intensify their workout. Unlike in some parks, the stations here are spread out across the trail instead of grouped all in one spot. The path skirts 3 ball fields, horseshoe pits, bocce ball, and basketball courts, and even a 2-section dog run for large and small pets. Eventually, it winds around the park's 26-acre spring-fed lake, enjoyed by quite a variety of birds and waterfowl. With such beautiful grounds throughout, it is easy to see why Long Island State Park Commissioner Robert Moses had chosen this parcel of land of all the parks on Long Island to be his regional headquarters, from which he oversaw all the state parks on the island. In 1935, the original Belmont family home was demolished and replaced by the park's current office building. The Belmont House may have been replaced, but one of the early decorations on it hasn't been. As a tribute to her uncle, Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, who was credited with winning a key naval battle in the War of 1812, Mrs. August Belmont had these cannons, which had been captured from a British warship, prominently placed near the Manor House entrance, where they remain today. At the south end of the lake, water spills over to continue on toward the Great South Bay as Carl's Creek. The little more than 4 mile stretch of waterway is bordered by a bike or walking trail as well as a bridle path. The stone archway here is not what you'd expect to come upon in the middle of such a bucolic park. It's the support bridge at roughly exit 38 of the Southern State Parkway. Among various activities on the lake are fishing. There's both native and stock species that fill the pond. There's also canoeing, rowboating, kayaking, and four-person pedal boats. The latter three are available for renting. Rounding out the list of ways to spend your day at Belmont Lake are two playgrounds separated between older and younger preteens. What would you call a 68-room house with 22 fireplaces set on over 900 acres in Suffolk County, with interior woodwork hand-carved and several centuries old that was imported from England piece by piece? Keep in mind it's set on an idyllic river, boasts two personal islands, and sits amid grounds designed by the world-famous landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted. Some might term it a castle or a palace. But if you were William Bayard Cutting, Esquire, you would just call it your country house. A frequent visitor to the nearby Sportsman's Club at what is now Connecticut River State Park, Cutting, who inherited and expanded his grandfather's extensive railroad holdings and had an interest in land and waterfront development, decided in 1884 he'd like a little piece of his own to summer at on Long Island. He bought a 931-acre plot for just $125,000 and commissioned his new country manor at Westbrook Farm. The property was turned over to the Long Island State Park and Recreation Commission by his daughter, Mrs. Bayard James, in 1952, and it was renamed Bayard Cutting Arboretum. A wander around these grounds leaves visitors in no doubt why Mrs. James had called the estate an oasis of beauty. The gorgeous Jacobean Revival House, built in 1886, now is a home for a visitor center and administrative offices. A tea room cafe spills out onto a veranda overlooking a great lawn and the Connecticut River. Inside the home's decor is nothing short of stunning. Although predominantly used by the family during the summer, the house has nearly 24 fireplaces, more decorative than functional. In the dining room, a mantel was installed that had previously graced a 15th century chateau in France. The fireplace in Mrs. Cutting's bedroom was also imported from Oxford, England. This one here in the entry hall is the largest and most ornate. The hand-carved ceiling above, as well as wood paneling and a grand main entrance from the hall, are also imports from England. News articles written at the time declared the decorations of the walls and ceiling are beautiful beyond description. And as if the house weren't already grand enough, an annex built in the same style was added in 1890. Guests were accommodated on the second floor, and the third was given over to their servants. But the first floor, that one was for fun only. It was a recreation center for billiards, ping pong, and card games. For outdoor fun, there were tennis courts, a bowling green, and, why not, a 9-hole golf course that was added across the road in 1895. Designed by a young Scotsman, it was one of the earliest private links in the United States. Cutting later converted it to a truck farm during World War II to raise crops for the war effort. The grounds are an impressive mix of expansive lawn and specialized garden areas, like the vibrantly colorful rhododendron walk in the spring, deliberately designed to impress and enchant. The walled garden has benches to invite visitors to sit and smell the proverbial roses. It's also an ideal place to admire one of my favorite pieces of natural beauty on the estate, a 125-year-old European weeping beech. The massive tree is not as dense as it appears, and in summer provides quite a bit of shade and solitude if you know the secret. You can go inside it. Over the years, this convenient walkway with benches has been added for a relaxing break, and I suspect to keep people from climbing the branches as you used to be able to. There is something otherworldly about ducking under its limbs and blocking out the world beyond. A walk toward the river brings you to Breezy Island, which was built in the early 1900s with soil dredged from the river when neighbor William K. Vanderbilt decided he needed to get his yacht farther upstream to his estate on the opposite side of the river. The island was a reclusive spot where Mrs. Cutting could enjoy taking her afternoon tea. And what could be more relaxing than sitting shoreside and enjoying this stretch of the Connecticut River, about a mile in from where it joins the Great South Bay? Helpful signs along the shore describe the waterway's natural inhabitants and their role in the ecosystem. The bridge in the distance connects to the estate's Paradise Island, now a wildlife sanctuary. Occasionally, bald eagles have been sighted overhead. It does take so little sometimes to entertain me, and this is a case in point. I find the root structure here fascinating to see. These nubs are called cypress knees and are root adaptations that help the tree survive waterlogged and high salinity environments. According to Bayard's landscape curator, Kevin Weeks, every effort is made to preserve the botanical oddities, not only for the practical purpose for the tree's health, but also because they do amaze people like me. If you prefer wooded walks to river strolls, there's plenty of that too. Placards again explain what plant and animal life thrive on the estate. You could also wander over to the CSA, or the community-sponsored agricultural farm that was added to the estate in 2012, sort of a throwback to the ground's original name, Westbrook Farm. Here you'll also find a carefully cultivated expanse of dahlias. Cutting had a keen interest in conifers, and there are several pinnata, or collections of cone-bearing trees, on the grounds. Some of the vast plantings of pine, fir, spruce, and hemlock were installed as far back as 1890. Mrs. Cutting's expressed wish when she gifted over the property was that the Arboretum should serve as a source of pleasure, rest, and refreshment to those who delight in outdoor beauty. It is clear that her hope has been met, and then some. This 80-acre park in Suffolk County gives a whole new meaning to the term multifunctional. First, a little background on its origins. As the saying goes, one person's garbage is another person's treasure. The Holtsville Wildlife Ecology Center embodies that concept to a T. Before 1974, it was a whole lot of people's garbage. The Brookhaven town landfill, to be exact. New York State's Environmental Facilities Corporation closed the facility in 1974 when it was filled to capacity. The goal then was to transform the area into a town recreational center. Those plans hit a snag in 1977 when families in 4 homes needed to be evacuated because of danger posed by the adjacent former landfill. Potentially explosive levels of methane, which is generated by the decomposition of vegetation and garbage, is a colorless, odorless, flammable gas, and it had been found in their homes. The town initiated a system to siphon off the gas, and the park opened safely in 1979, with the mound of trash cleverly revegetated and transformed into a densely packed wooded hill. There's nothing remaining to indicate this area was ever anything but a plush patch of paradise. Surrounding the mountain of green is a 1.2-mile paved loop shared by solo walkers and joggers, families with strollers, and bikers who enjoy stretches of sunny areas, as well as shady ones. Benches are spaced around for a breather. And for fitness buffs, there's 18 exercise stations, and various stages of fitness themselves. The latest addition to the park's exercise options is a brilliant one provided by a local Girl Scout. For her Gold Award project, the highest achievement for a Girl Scout, Adriana Ansari developed a trail designed to foster both physical and mental fitness. QR codes on each descriptive poster can be accessed via cell phone. They link to videos to demonstrate each move. Benches inscribed with uplifting thoughts such as "nothing is impossible" and "find joy in the journey" separate stations and invite families to sit to discuss the prompts and fun facts on the trail signs. Transported from a farm farther east is a remnant of old-time Long Island wind power. It stands in front of the park's education center and across from the recycling/compost entrance, just beyond which is where you'll find an example of Long Island's newer power source, a solar farm with more than 5,000 panels. Several memorials provide places for quiet reflection around the park. A gazebo with benches next to a lending library offers another way to pass a lazy afternoon. Along the loop, some four-footed friends might step out of the overgrowth, and in the open field, geese stop by for a breather. They tend to leave behind their own trail on the walkway, though, so do watch where you step. In addition to the wildlife you might glimpse along the trail, the Ecology Center has an animal preserve where over 100 injured or otherwise non-releasable wild and farm animals reside. A longtime favorite is the American bald eagle, who sits high in its perch. A seemingly endless variety of large and small animals and birds cohabitate at the center, from buffalo and black bear to silver foxes and goats. Back in 1989, as a local reporter, I was present at the unveiling of a unique habitat for the latest rescue from an abusive owner at that time. He was Chemo, a cougar, who had been treated, bizarrely, as a house pet. He became local royalty in his new environment, specially designed to the tune of $30,000. Pretty pricey then. To make sure, though, that investment yielded optimum viewing for guests, a key feature was an electrically heated synthetic rock that attracted Chemo, so he would sit on it and lounge in full view of visitors. He passed away, but of old age, in 2000. In the adjacent education center, even more local denizens can be found, but they are of the stuffed variety. Here you can get a close-up view of a great horned owl, wood duck, blue jay, and raccoon, among others. Buildings at the center also include a greenhouse, used to grow the flowers and plants that decorate town facilities. And there's an entryway great for picture taking that sports different backgrounds to match the season throughout the year. And that's still not the full extent of Holtsville's multifaceted personality. There's play areas, 3 outdoor pools, and even covered dining pavilions that can be rented out. Safety Town operates in the parking lot to educate kids in traffic safety as well as pedestrian and bicycle safety. A replica of a miniature village gives kids a hands-on experience using bicycles and miniature electric vehicles. There's no fee to enjoy the park's open spots like the zoo and trails, but there is for the pool and to park. Resident seniors can get a town pass for just a few dollars. All others, though, must pay an hourly parking charge at either the meter stations or on a phone app. I like to end all of my programs with the words of Dr. Seuss. Sometimes you don't appreciate the moment until it becomes a memory. And I like to add to that, always remember to celebrate the moments and treasure the memories. I hope you've enjoyed this tour with me of some of my favorite parks. The island is rich with so many beautiful spots, many of which are more than just pretty. They have stories to tell. If I didn't yet feature one of your favorite parks, or one you'd wondered about, keep an eye out for future editions of this series. If you have any questions about this or any of my programs, email me or use the contact page on my website, where you can also click on the Programs tab to see where I'll be presenting, either virtually or in person. Now you can lace up your hiking boots and grab your walking stick to explore some of these for yourself. I hope you will keep in mind as you do, parks are great places any time of the year. And do remember the words of Charles Dickens: nature gives to every time and season some beauties of its own.